Hey everybody, how's it going? Hope you're having a lovely day and a lovely Monday morning. Welcome to today's episode of How You're Getting Effed. I'm your host, Louis Rossman. On this channel, I very often go over design flaws that exist in Apple products, and I also go over design flaws in other products. For those who wonder why it is I spend so much time going over Apple flaws, it's because I work on them for a living. As a result of working on them for a living and seeing 30 to 40 of these devices every single day for 15 years, I tend to have a little bit of specialized knowledge in exactly which design flaws exist, which ones are repeating, the type of stuff that is not just a one-off fluke or a customer damaging their product because of accidental damage, but rather design flaws that exist in the actual engineering of the product. And as you can see here, you have one of them where you have the device that sends 50 volts to the CPU. So the 1 volt data pin going to the CPU and the 50 volt backlight pin are supposed to be as far apart as possible. So you have like pin 1 over here, and then you're supposed to have it so that pin 43 is as far away as possible. However, because the PCB design engineer was not necessarily in sync mission and purpose-wise with the person designing the circuit, they wound up wrapping it around and having the 2 pins that are supposed to be as far apart as humanly possible being right next to each other, which is a design flaw that Apple never took accountability or responsibility for and continued to produce and manufacture for 4 years. And today we're going to be going over a GoPro design flaw. Now, GoPro is a company that I am admittedly biased against because I have had the unfortunate experience of trying to use their products. I enjoyed doing live streams from my electric bicycle when I rode around Manhattan, and one of the problems that I had with it is that it constantly crashed. However, in addition to it constantly crashing, several of its advertised features didn't actually function. It has an advertised feature of being able to live stream to YouTube using your GoPro camera, and if you take a look at this video that I did 5 years ago, I spent 33 minutes trying to get this thing to work, and it did indeed take 33 minutes to get it to actually work with the live stream. I walk you through every single step that I took in great detail without editing anything out, and you can see that this camera, in my opinion, is a complete buggy piece of dog shit. Now, admittedly, being able to live stream to a platform is very different from the actual hardware durability of it. This is not going to cause me to not record video, and let's be real here, most cameras that advertise that you can live stream to something just don't effing work the way they're supposed to. It's unfortunate, but it is the reality. Now, take a look at this. We're going to take a look at GoPro's lead camera, that is their flagship device. So let's go over to their website here. If you go over to their website, you can see that the GoPro Hero 12 appears to be the camera that they are advertising as their main. So if we go to cameras and we go to the Hero 12 block, you'll notice that this camera is advertised on its first page as waterproof to 33 feet. This is advertised as waterproof to 33 feet. Not only that, but they actually encourage you to use it underwater, because when you click cameras on this website that loads slow as shit and you go over to dive and snorkel, you will see several photos of several young women taking this camera underwater and using it underwater because it is advertised to be safe in that way. However, if you take a look at their warranty page over here, you'll notice this particularly interesting line. Because of possible user resealing errors, this product is not warranted against water housing leakage or any resulting damage. Now, the reason I find this even more egregious than what goes on with Apple products is that this is literally advertised to be used underwater. They're telling you to use it underwater. However, they won't cover any damage if it is utilized underwater, and there is an issue. So let's go over the design flaw with this product that Rich with Tech has done an excellent overview of it on his channel, and I highly suggest that you check it out because he did a really good deep dive into this, and he explains the technical reasons why it is this camera is let's be real here, a piece of shit that is misadvertising its features, misleading its customers, and then not taking accountability or responsibility for the design flaws. So let's take a look over here at what Rich has to say.
Gasket to work is if this is the gasket material, a gasket will be compressed in between two harder materials. So that right now there's a gap here and here, and the gasket will be compressed until there is no gap. And so at that point, it can be considered sealed. And so nothing can pass through here because there is no gap, right? Hypothetically, right?
So right there, he's talking about what a gasket is and how it works. Now let's go over the problem with the GoPro camera that demonstrates why it is that this thing will fail if you take it underwater, not just for a short period of time, but seemingly for any period of time, and why GoPro are lying sacks of shit when they advertise this camera as waterproof.
To press the battery down into the camera to ensure good electrical contact with the connectors at the end there, which is fine. However, in doing so, let me show you how that would look. So if this battery's in here, just take a look at how tiny the gap is there between the top of this battery and the landing area for the gasket. And so as you might have guessed, when you factor this in as well, it's actually offsetting this and preventing it from forming a flat surface, which of course you need to form a seal. And so I press this against glass just to see, because it is the recess is almost non-existent, it's minuscule. And so it's actually, I would say the recess is even smaller than you see this inner rudder ring. So I actually took this out, and even with this inner rudder ring, I was still not able to press this against glass and get a seal all the way around. So that's due to this not being thick enough or compressible enough, and this literally obstructing it and preventing it from doing its intended job. Also on the back, they've used ferrous screws. Let me show you. I mean, you can see the rust, you already know, but, you know, magnetic screwdriver, there they are. Shouldn't be able to pick those up, because of course these are exposed to the elements, and you can see there, rust, oxidization. So of course that will form porous and uneven surfaces, which is again, you know, it's another form of another way the water can get in there. So this is flawed on multiple fronts, and I mean, it's pretty shocking because this exact design is on the 9, the 10, the 11, and the 12, as far as I can see, because the battery and the door is compatible across them. From what I can see, this is the same. I mean,
now, this is a product that is designed in a fundamentally flawed way. And because I was using the GoPro Hero 6 and the GoPro Hero 7, I never experienced this design flaw. I experienced the design flaw of it crashing all the time if you actually used it at the advertised resolutions. Do not use the GoPro Hero 6 at 4K 30 or the GoPro Hero 7 at 4K 60, as the camera will crash all the time. And above all, for F's sake, never try to live stream from this camera. You'll waste a lot of your life that you can never get back. You can always make back money, but you cannot make back time. We all have a finite amount of time, and you should not waste it trying to get a GoPro camera to work in that fashion. However, this is a design flaw that's much more serious. And just like Apple's design flaw, which they continue to not take accountability and responsibility for, and continue to offer to consumers for 4 whole years, GoPro has offered this product with the design flaw for the GoPro Hero 9, 10, 11, and 12. Their users are consistently posting to their forum telling them that they have these problems, so surely they're aware of these problems, but they seem unwilling, unable, and frankly, uncaring to actually address this design flaw by changing the engineering of the product so that it actually works. In my opinion, you should not purchase a product from GoPro because they do not care about you as a customer, and above all, they do not take accountability or responsibility for any of the design flaws. Similar to how Apple does not really care about its customers in this way when they release a product that has design flaws. Again, with the iPhone 4, you're holding it wrong. With the iPhone 7, where you had baseband issues that would cause it to not get serviced, they only covered this after they were about to face a class action lawsuit. iPhone 7s with audio IC issues were not being covered, period. iPhone 6 Pluses that experienced touch IC issues, even though Apple's own internal documentation told them that they were failing at a much higher rate than the 6, was not something that they ever took accountability or responsibility for until they were sued. And even then, they were offering a repair program for $149 where they gave you another motherboard that came out of somebody else's phone that was just about to have the same issue as a result of it being a used board with the same design flaw. There are many other design flaws in those products, and GoPro appears to be following in Apple's footsteps there. One of the things that I talk about on this channel is you may say, well, you're an idiot, you bought an Apple, you're an idiot, you bought a Chevy, you're an idiot, you bought a Ford, you're an idiot, you bought a Tesla. At the end of the day, if one company gets away with something and they continue to have a higher market cap and higher profit margins, every other company tends to believe that they can get away with the same thing. Similar to if you run a business and you allow one employee to stop caring about the company and do a horrible job, and that employee makes more money than all the other employees. Once the other employees figure out this person makes more money than me and does less work, it becomes a cancer that spreads to the rest of the organization, and it is a cancer that has to be rooted out. And it's the same thing when we're talking about corporate behavior, whether we're talking about consumer electronics or companies that share your data and wind up getting slaps on the wrist of 0.8% or 1% of their profit by our spineless and gutless consumer protection agencies like the FCC that are a waste of taxpayer dollars. If one company gets away with it and continues to make money, why would every other company not try and get away with it and make as much money as possible? If you buy a GoPro camera, you are paying a premium for a camera that is worse than cameras that cost a considerably lower amount of money, many of whom will actually take accountability and responsibility for releasing garbage. The camera that I used to use back in the day that I unfortunately can no longer recommend was the DJI Osmo Action 4K. This looks like a newer version of the camera than the one I had. This camera never crashed, and unlike garbage GoPros, this camera actually worked as a liquid-resistant camera when I tested it as such. The unfortunate problem with the DJI Action Osmo 4K that I had at the time, and to be clear, I'm not sure if the newer ones do this, but I do know the older one that I bought in 2019 and 2020 did this, is that these cameras do not allow you to use them until you scan a QR code and then activate the camera utilizing the cell phone app. As a result of the camera not working out of the box until you install an application and scan a QR code, that means that you don't actually own this product. The manufacturer owns that product, and DJI can turn off your ability to use it at any given time unless somebody comes out with hacked firmware for it. I had to install the DJI app on my phone, which I had no desire to do. I wanted to utilize this camera similar to a dash cam that I would use in a car, where I plug in a micro SD card, I hit the format button, I hit the record button after setting the settings up, and it just records. I take the micro SD card out, I attach it to my computer, I get my footage, and I'm done. Unfortunately, the DJI Osmo did not allow me to do that, so it's very difficult for me to recommend this camera as well. But what I would suggest is that you try other brands of action cam from companies that actually respect you and don't have these types of garbage terms there. In my opinion, the reason that GoPro wrote this here is not because of user resealing errors, like AKA you're holding the phone wrong. They put this here because they understood that this product had serious design flaws and issues that they were not willing to cover under warranty, nor were they willing to change their design in order to make it something that actually worked for their users. Now I'd like to tell you about an anecdote from my childhood regarding my mother that has absolutely nothing to do with GoPro or any type of action that you should take. This is the type of action that is immoral, unethical, and has nothing to do with my prior story. Now what I'd like to do is I would like to discuss a personal anecdote from my childhood regarding my mother, just because I love talking about my childhood, and I don't have the time to turn this into a separate video because I've been taking 2 accelerated college courses while having a full-time job, 2 nonprofits, the YouTube channel, and my business. So this anecdote that I'm about to share with you has absolutely nothing to do with anything that I discussed prior to this. And more importantly, this anecdote includes immoral and unethical behavior that you should not engage in. So I am telling you this anecdote because I want my subscribers to have a rubric and understanding of what immoral and unethical behavior looks like, so that they never take part in this unethical, immoral, horrible behavior in their own lives. And if any of you were to take part in this behavior, I would highly suggest that you unsubscribe from my channel, because I don't want viewers like this watching my channel. My mother used to believe in something called a lifetime warranty. So when I was 6 years old, if she got me a toy from Toys R Us and she realized that the toy continued to break, even if it was used properly, she believed in the lifetime warranty. The lifetime warranty meant that if she tried the product herself and could get the product to malfunction even when she utilized it properly as an adult, what she would do is she would buy the product again from Toys R Us, put the old product that broke in the box, and then return the old product in the box for the new product. Now, many of you may think that my mother got in trouble from doing this because perhaps the sticker was different or they would notice there was something with the product, but my mother was relying on something to be true that is almost the universal case with most large companies, which is that an employee at Toys R Us that makes $4.25 an hour is not going to do a detective's level of work to try and figure out if the product she was returning was the old product that she purchased a few weeks ago or the new product that she just purchased now. And over the course of about 5 years, my mother continued to be able to utilize the lifetime warranty. Many people incorrectly believe the misinformation that either Mitt Romney or Bain Capital destroyed Toys R Us and caused them to go bankrupt, when the actual cause of their bankruptcy was a 50-year-old Italian woman from San Benedetto that shopped at the Toys R Us in Staten Island. Personally, I don't believe this is behavior that anybody should take part in because it is morally and ethically wrong. 2 wrongs don't make a right. And what my mother was doing was immoral and unethical. And once I became an adult, I made sure to chastise her for this inappropriate behavior that she took part in when I was too young to understand what she was doing, and actually scold her and discipline her the way that she should have been scolded for what she did. Nor do I believe that anybody should take part in this type of behavior when it comes to merchants that have acted in an unethical manner in the past, such as locking out paying customers or selling fuses that you could put 6 to 8 amps through when they're rated for 2 amps, that have continued to do so for 6 months in spite of thousands of user reports and a detailed study on how these fuses can hurt customers, in addition to a study on how these fuses don't actually work the way they're supposed to and can cause serious harm to people. You should not take actions like this simply because a company has screwed you over or a merchant decides to sell unsafe products while making hundreds of billions of dollars doing so and growing to become a $2 to $3 trillion company. And as a result of the way that Amazon runs, by paying their employees poor wages and treating them like shit, they are particularly vulnerable to this, which is why it would be inappropriate to attempt to take advantage of them in this way, simply because their employees are the type of people that are treated so horribly that they are not going to be the type of people that compare the serial number on the product to the serial number that is in the box. As a result of them being vulnerable in this way, if you were to attempt to take advantage of them in this way, that would be highly unethical and immoral, and it would almost be akin to taking advantage of a disabled person that you know is disabled, because as a result of their company culture and how they treat their employees, none of them would actually check something like this, which would allow you to get away with this horrible behavior. Lastly, when you take part in this type of action, you actually hurt the manufacturer in addition to the vendor. When I was a vendor of LCD screens and I was selling hundreds to thousands of them per day via my old company, Rossman Supply Group, if there was a particular product that I purchased that was getting returned many times by customers, not only will I send all those products back to the person I bought them from, but I would also stop selling their products entirely, which would hurt the manufacturer of those products. And hurting people is an immoral thing to do. These are the type of actions that would be very wrong, even if they would allow you to actually get the product that you purchased and paid for that you should be able to have as a consumer because it was advertised in that manner. These are things that you should not do, and if you do them, I would ask that you unsubscribe from my channel immediately, because I do not want unethical or immoral people watching my YouTube channel. That's it for today, and as always, I hope you learned something. I'll see you all in the next video. Bye now.